In today's module, we will be discussing about osteoporotic vertebral compression fractures. So what is osteoporosis? Osteoporosis is a progressive systemic skeletal disease which is characterized by low bone mass and a microarchitectural deterioration of bone tissue with a consequent increase in bone fragility and increased susceptibility to fracture, which means its reduction in the bone mineral density, thereby the bones become very weak and susceptible to fracture. So this is a schematic representation of normal bone matrix and osteoporosis. You can see very clearly that in a normal bone matrix there is intense amount of bony trabeculae and the space between the bony trabeculae is very less. Whereas in osteoporosis the bony trabeculae has reduced and the space between the bony trabeculae is increased, which means the bone mineral density is reduced, and because of this the bone becomes very fragile and susceptible to fractures. So what is bone mineral density? It is defined as the amount of mineral matter which is calcium present per square centimeter of bone. That is called as bone mineral density, and again you can see the microarchitectural deterioration and reduced bone mineral density. Compared to figure A, it is significantly less in figure B. So how is this bone mineral density measured? There are various ways of measurement of bone mineral density, but the recommended measurement by WHO is the DEXA scan, and osteoporosis is defined based on this DEXA scan, and it is considered as normal if the T-score is greater than or equal to -1. It is considered as osteopenia if the T-score is between -1 to -2.5. It is considered as osteoporosis if the T-score is less than -2.5, and it is considered as severe osteoporosis if the T-score is less than -2.5 with a history of fragility fracture. Suppose if you take a case example of a patient with history of trivial fall with a vertebral fracture, but if you take BMD by DEXA scan, if the T-score is about say -2, do you call it as osteopenia or osteoporosis? It is called as osteoporosis, because even if the T-score is between -1 to -2.5, but the fracture is a fragility fracture as confirmed with the X-ray and MRI scan, then you have to consider that as osteoporosis. And what is T-score? T-score represents the number of standard deviation a patient is above or below the mean BMD of an young adult. And what is Z-score? It is, instead of young adult, if you compare with age-matched individuals, that is called as Z-score. So that is the basic difference. T-score is when it is compared with an young adult, and Z-score when it is compared with age-matched individual. Now, why is osteoporotic vertebral fracture is very important to discuss and to know about what are the treatment modalities. It is because the National Osteoporosis Foundation, they have estimated that more than 100 million people worldwide are at risk for the development of these fragility fractures, and it occurs in 20% of people over the age of 70 years and in 16% of post-menopausal women. This data is basically westernized data, but if we take our population, we can see that most of the people above 60-65 years will be having fragility fractures because of osteoporosis, and it is one of the leading cause of disability and morbidity in the elderly. I am not going to go into the pathophysiology and in-depth detail about osteoporosis per se, which will be discussed in the medicine or endocrinology modules. I will be discussing about the vertebral fractures because of osteoporosis. They have also documented, and various studies have documented, that there is increased incidence of mortality and morbidity, including back pain, loss of height of the vertebra resulting in kyphotic deformity, increased risk of future fracture, and reduction in the overall quality of life. This point is very important. Reduction in quality of life in elderly is considered as one of the most important morbidity factors for osteoporotic vertebral fractures, and chronic pain in these patients may result from incomplete vertebral healing with progressive collapse, or it could be because of spinal deformity because of kyphosis development, or it could be because of non-union. So this is the case scenario. So this is the normal spine MRI of the patient. You can see there is an osteoporotic collapse of the bone resulting in progressive deformity, kyphotic deformity, progressive collapse, and it can result and it can progress to this much amount of deformity, which can eventually result in neurological deficit and loss of mobilization because of the deformity and persistent pain. Now, Coming to classification, we all know that orthopedics and spine surgery is full of classifications. So why do we have to classify these kind of osteoporotic compression fractures? So what is the use or importance of the classification? We have to know which fractures go on for late collapse or kyphosis or non-union, when is surgery required, and what type of surgery is required in these type of patients. So that is the basic aim of classifying these fractures. So one of the earliest classifications which came for osteoporotic compression fractures was by Sugita et al. In 2005, and they analyzed 135 fractures which were managed conservatively, and they divided these fractures into 5 types. First is a normal vertebra, second is a swelled front type, that is the 50% of anterior wall will be swollen in the front, that is swelled front type. The next one is the bow type. The anterior wall is pinched in and the end plate is failing, resembling the bow of a ship. So you can see here the anterior and the superior end plate is getting involved. The projecting type is when 50% of anterior wall of the vertebral body is projecting and it appeared as a small bulge without a fracture line. The concave type is when the superior end plate is failing or falling in with an anterior wall intact, and the dented type when the center of the anterior wall of the vertebral body becomes dented and fracture line is clearly seen in the vertebral body. According to this classification, swelled front type, bow type and projecting type fractures had a poor prognosis with higher incidence of vacuum clefts and late collapse. So what is this vacuum cleft? Vacuum cleft signifies pseudoarthrosis or non-union. So that is very important. In contrast, the concave type and the dented type fractures had relatively good prognosis. Now why the swelled front, bow type and projecting type had bad prognosis? Basically, the bow type fractures, if you see, they are like pillars. The anterior wall is getting involved and the superior end plate is getting involved. Basically, in osteoporosis, it's like an empty carton box. So the bone mineral density is very less and it is supported by the anterior and the superior end plate. When the anterior and superior end plate, that is when one of the walls of the building and the roof is getting collapsed, obviously the chances of collapse of the building is significantly high, and that is true even in these type of fractures.